morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's 10 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot of content this morning. We're really excited to have everybody here for our first in-person event. My name is Kimberly Schwind. I'm the Director of Public Affairs for AAA Ohio Auto Club, and this is Technology Takes the Wheel, Brilliant Minds Behind Tomorrow's Transportation. So we're really excited for this event. Just a few notes before we get started. This meeting is being recorded and all comments are a matter of public record. And for those of you that are joining virtually, please enter any questions in the chat. We will do our best to answer questions at the end of the event or even afterwards. So a recording of today's event is going to be emailed to everybody within a couple weeks of the event. And we'll also include a PDF version of today's slides, as well as a survey. So we really encourage you to take the survey because it's going to help us as we plan future events to know how did we do and maybe what topics you'd be interested in the future. So I want to provide a little bit of a background on Technology Takes the Wheel. Technology Takes the Wheel is a speaker series that was developed and launched in February 2018 in Toledo, Ohio by AAA Club Alliance with the University of Toledo College of Engineering. This was a first of its kind affiliation between AAA and a university or college of higher learning to create a speaker series that's designed to inform and engage a myriad of different audiences to learn more about autonomous vehicle technology and the future of transportation. In 2020, AAA Ohio Auto Club partnered with the Ohio State University Center for Automotive Research, Columbus State Community College, DriveOhio, Smart Columbus, and the Transportation Research Center to bring the Technology Takes the Wheel speaker series to a new audience here in Central Ohio. We were supposed to have our first in-person event in June of 2020 right here, but guess what? That didn't happen. So instead, we held our first event virtually in September 30th of 2020. And we're thrilled to have our first in-person event right here where it should be, where we were going to have our first one. And this is actually our 9th event in this series. So really excited to have you all here today. AAA Ohio would like to thank our partners and the wonderful lineup of panelists that we have here today and all of the leaders that are going to lead our breakout sessions. And so to kick it off, I would like to introduce Bill Purpura. He is the editor of AAA Magazine and the director of corporate communications for AAA Ohio Auto Club. And he is going to be our MC today to introduce all of our speakers. Bill?
Kimberly, hello, everybody. You have been in the car. You can take it with you if you want to walk around. You can take it with you if you want to walk around. That's fine. I'll be fine. How many of you have been to CAR before? Well, we have a few. You guys are going to love this place. The work that these students are doing is just absolutely amazing. I think you're going to have a really good time. For all of you here, we have got the lot of online folks with us as well. We've got a really good crowd. So our first presenter is Giorgio Rizzoni. Giorgio is the Ford Motor Company Chair in Electromechanical Systems, Professor of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering and Electrical and Computer Engineering, and Director of the Center for Automotive Research right here at Ohio State. He is author or co-author of 500 journals and conference papers and 3 books. He has taught or co-taught a graduate course of hybrid electric vehicles at Ohio State since 1999. Giorgio, come join us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bill. It's first of all great to have all of you here and welcome. Good to have this in-person event. I have to say, I hadn't seen this room so full since 2019, I think. Second, I'm a card-carrying member of AAA. I want you to know that. And have been for pretty much my adult life. Okay. And welcome to the Center for Automotive Research. It's great to have you here. As Bill mentioned, I have been around here for some time. I joined the Ohio State University in 1990, and one of the reasons, in fact, possibly the primary reason I came here was because at the time we're beginning to the process of creating a Center for Automotive Research, and they were recruiting young faculty who might participate in this new activity that was very closely tied to the Transportation Research Center and to the growth of the Honda enterprise in this region. So we created an interdisciplinary research center that is in the College of Engineering. I kind of have two bosses in a sense. On one hand, I'm a professor. My main appointment is in mechanical and aerospace engineering. But at the same time, I also report to the Dean of Engineering as director of this center. And we collaborate with faculty, give opportunities to students in our college across all departments. So we have industrial, chemical, mechanical, electrical engineering, computer science. And the ideas for us is to give these students an opportunity to expand and enrich their education from the classroom into laboratories and experimental vehicles where they can put the things they learn in the classroom into practice. And there are really two broad areas of activities we are engaged in. How do we make vehicles cleaner and more efficient, both from a tailpipes emission perspective, as well as from a global CO2 emissions perspective? And secondly, how do we make these vehicles safer? And today, safety is not just crash worthiness. How do I make my vehicle resist impact better? Safety has a lot to do with intelligence, with connectivity with other vehicles and the infrastructure, and in the future, increasingly so with automation of these vehicles. So we work with many different partners, and I'll explain that in a moment, but I'll give you some numbers. Today we have a staff that complements the activities of the students of 45 full-time people who do administration, business development, and of course, a lot of engineering research work. We support something like 120 graduate students who are pursuing masters and PhDs in various disciplines, and we provide facilities for hundreds, literally, of undergraduate students, and you will visit their labs, so you will see what they do. And most of our graduates end up basically practicing what we preach. They go off into the automotive industry, and they're really working around the world in automotive companies and their suppliers and government agencies trying to improve mobility and transportation. I mentioned already we work on all aspects of vehicles, but you know, today there are two trends that are really changing, reshaping the automotive industry. One of them is the electrification side. Everyone hears about investment in charging infrastructure, auto companies making commitments to producing more electric vehicles. And the other one, of course, is automation, which is a long process. But if you think about it for a moment, the degree to which our vehicles have some level of automation has continuously moved forward over the past 30 years. From the early anti-lock brake system and traction control systems to systems that keep us in the lane today, that allow, at least part-time, to take your hands off the wheel. And without any question, this will continue to move forward. With that, you need to worry about the safety and security of these vehicles. You hear a little bit about cybersecurity, for example, during your tour today. And the next question is, how do these more intelligent vehicles interact with the smarter cities of today and tomorrow? These are some of the questions we try to answer, and we do this in collaboration with government agencies. Some example, we have been selected by the Federal Transit Administration to be engaged in understanding the future of transit. So these are the public transit vehicles that are COTA in our city, of course, that we wish to be as clean as possible, as efficient as possible. We're working also increasingly so on topics that are related to urban air mobility. tomorrow there might be air transportation that will also be electric and automated. We do a lot of research on energy storage topics, and of course, we collaborate with TRC. You'll hear about TRC very shortly on topics that are related to the connectivity and automation of vehicles. So these are some of the projects we're engaged in with the U.S. Department of Transportation, U.S. Department of Energy, National Science Foundation, NASA. But that's not all, because we also do a lot of work with industry partners, and it's difficult to describe each and every one of these relationships. But the way we like to put it is, if you've heard of an auto company, we've probably worked with them at some point. And I know that TRC can say the same thing. So we have a very strong presence here in Central Ohio. We're recognized as one of the hubs of activity in the development of future mobility and transportation solutions. And what you will see today is a little bit of what our great students do. And really remember, this is a public university. We're the land-grant university in the state of Ohio. So our mission is to educate students and prepare them for a bright future. And with that, I'll turn it over back to Bill, who will introduce the next one. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you, George. Just a reminder for those of us who are joining us virtually, we're going to take you on a virtual tour of the workshops that our folks here are attending in person will get to see. You'll get to see some of the same kinds of things, and I really do. Again, I think you're going to really enjoy it. So our they hired the wrong guy for this. I'm sorry. Anyway, so our next guest is Taylor Anahan. She is currently the assistant director of the mobility team at the Transportation Research Center. How many of you have heard of TRC? That's an incredible facility. We hope to do a program out there at some point in time. So we're kind of working on that. She has been with TRC for 7 years, following the completion of her degree in mechanical engineering from Ohio Northern University. During she completed her MBA from Otterbein. As assistant director, Taylor leads engineering and operations teams in the execution of research and development of automated and connected vehicles. Prior to her role as assistant director, Ms. Manahan was manager for, let's see if we can do this without making this fall, business development, providing link between external customers and internal resources. Additionally, Taylor also spent 5 years as research engineer and team leader involved in advanced driver assistance systems research and testing as a contractor for NHTSA and the Vehicle Research and Test Center. So please join us and give her a big hand as well.
Good morning, everyone. Just gonna flip those slides back. Can everyone hear me okay? So I saw a bunch of hands that a bunch of new TRC, but how many of you maybe know a little bit more in depth about TRC? Has anybody been there yet? Okay, so a few hands, good. So this morning I'm gonna talk a little bit about what is TRC, who are the people behind TRC, and then some of the projects that we're actually working on in order to move forward this automated and connected vehicle space. So TRC, the Transportation Research Center, is North America's most comprehensive independent proving ground. We also offer a variety of engineering services that go along with that proving ground. We are a 501c3 non-for-profit, so I'll explain how that came into existence here on the next slide. But we serve about 1,000 industry clients, as Giorgio mentioned. If you've heard of them, there's probably been some sort of work with them, whether they're industry, government, academia, a pretty broad space that we work with and serve. A little bit about TRC's history. So we were actually envisioned in the late 1960s, early 1970s by Governor James Rhodes
And the idea was to bring automotive research and development here to Ohio. And I think really to help complement some of the other efforts that were with the university and some of those pieces. And this actually transformed so much that in the 1970s, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration actually put their only vehicle research and test center at TRC. So they actually have their own entity that does research on our facility. Fast forward to the 80s, the state of Ohio still owned TRC, and they actually used the physical property as an enticement package to Honda, which is what helped bring Honda here and establish them in the state of Ohio. So at that time, TRC kind of went through an interesting transition where TRC Inc., as we know it today, became a 501c nonprofit entity. With that, we are also an affiliated entity of Ohio State. So if you kind of look at that triangle, Honda actually owns the physical property. TRC Inc. Operates it and maintains it as an independent company with Ohio State as that parent affiliated entity. So to help kind of complete that triangle. In 2018, I'm sorry, we actually went through a little bit of a transition as well. So when we became that 501c3, all of our net income, what would be profit for other companies, was actually filtered back into the university. And in recent years, we've actually been able to reinvest that back into the company, which has been really important as we go through the next couple slides and talk about some of the innovation that we've really been working on throughout the last few years. And so part of that innovation has been this transition and focus on solution. How can we be more than just the place of TRC? How can we be partners in the space of automated vehicles, connected vehicles, be good partners to Ohio State and our other partners that we work with constantly. And so this is our solutions portfolio that we look at a high level. And these are really focused in a couple groups. One of those is crashworthiness. So making sure that when your vehicle crashes, it's going to hold up, it's going to maintain well, it's going to protect those occupants in the vehicle. The other portion of this is our applied vehicle dynamics and our reliability. So making sure the frame of that vehicle is solid for you as a consumer. You're going to be able to have this vehicle for 10, 20, 30 years, really putting that vehicle through the paces before it gets to you. And the other piece of that is this automated driving and collision avoidance. So all the way from, these early types of advanced driver technologies up into those higher levels of automation where we get into things like hands off the wheels completely. And so really our goal as we've transitioned to this is to keep ahead of what's next in transportation. And as Giorgio mentioned on his slides, one of those projects was the Smart Center and building this entire facility focused on automated connected vehicles and really focusing on how TRC and our partners can really work together and collaborate for driving this innovation forward for automated vehicles. How do we help be leaders in that next step? And really the core piece behind that is taking a look at the people behind TRC. So they're the ones that are driving this collaboration. They're the ones that are driving these projects forward and putting the thoughts behind that. So really looking at, not necessarily where we're at now, but where we could be. What are the types of things that we can be driving forward? And how do we figure out what our tomorrow looks like with these technologies? And so it's not just about the work we do. It's not about the tools we use. It's not really, those things aren't going to be what the change are. The people that are driving those projects forward are going to be the ones that do that. And so these are some of the projects that we've actually been working with driving forward. So one thing kind of interesting about TRC is we are a highly confidential facility. And so these are actually some of the fun projects that we can talk about in a public setting like this. And so the first one here is actually focused on advanced driver assist technologies and how those may or may not be affected by aftermarket modifications to a vehicle. Most of us are going to buy a vehicle and at some point, unfortunately, you may get in an accident. You may want to lift your truck. You may want to add some window tint, those kinds of things. How are those actually affecting the technologies that come on your vehicle? Take a look at that and make sure that these aftermarket manufacturers understand what the changes may be and how those systems or processes may need to be affected. The other project we have here is our I-70 truck automation corridor. So this is actually a partnership through the state of Ohio with DriveOhio, ODOT, as well as Indiana Department of Transportation. And we're looking at that I-70 corridor, and TRC's portion of that is actually building an automotive guidebook for that area, and really understand what is the data telling us, what are the lanes telling us, what are all these pieces that are going to be important for automation on these highways. Our next project is our roadmap project. And you'll notice a theme between this project and our last one, where they're actually focused on rural roads. So I think really, right now we're hearing a lot about these automated vehicle companies testing urban environments in the cities. Well, we took a look, and for these projects, we see there's a gap in the rural environment. We need to understand what that is. When you look at the US, we have a lot of rural space. And so we felt that it was a really important aspect to focus on with these projects. And so this roadmap actually kind of combines both the automated and the electrification side of things, where they're looking at deploying EV technologies into those rural areas, while we're also looking at what those roads look like, how are they different than urban environments, what are some things that need to be taken into consideration as we deploy automated vehicles. And then the last project I've got on here, actually we're partnering with Ohio State, as well as DriveOhio, University of Cincinnati, Ohio University, to deploy automated technologies anywhere. So this is a 2-component project. One component of that is a heavy truck part, where we're putting heavy trucks on highways with level 2 technologies, as well as truck platooning when applicable. And then the second portion of that is actually a passenger vehicle. We're looking to deploy more automated technologies on the road. And again, really collecting data. So understanding the environment of what's going on, as well as how those technologies interact with those environments. So again, just a few of the projects that we've got working on that really, demonstrate TRC's people and how they're really leading this space in automated and connected vehicles. Thank you.
For a second, I do have a real quick question. Is there anything like TRC in this country?
No, I don't think so. One thing that's a really big key that I think helps differentiate us is that independence. And so that provides us with the ability to really work with a multitude of groups and really bring, kind of the best and brightest and the best resources together to accomplish these projects. As I mentioned, we work with OSU pretty regularly, and so that those types of partnerships really allow us to be on the forefront of those types of ideas and research topics.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask that question real quick, because it's really interesting because Ohio is in the thick of it. And, it's really kind of exciting to me living here, knowing that all this technology is happening in our state. And so I just find it fascinating. There are so many brilliant minds right here in Ohio. And that's really what the focus is, obviously, through this seminar. So our next guest, my good friend, Rich Granger. Rich is Managing Director of Workforce and Economic Development at DriveOhio, an initiative of the Ohio Department of Transportation and the state's innovative hub for smart mobility, focused on automated, connected, and electric vehicles and infrastructure on the ground and in the air. May not have thought of that. In this role, Rich manages workforce development programs from pre-K to PhDs to prepare Ohio's workforce for smart mobility jobs of the future. He also manages economic development activities to accelerate statewide growth in the fast-growing sectors of automotive and electric vehicles. That's the DriveOhio part, and advanced air mobility. That's the Fly Ohio part. So Rich, come join us.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm an OSU alum and a proud AAA card member, so I'm among friends. Good to be here. I almost thought about bringing some of my daughter's toys and throwing them behind me and a cat with me, just to make everyone feel more normal, like the new normal. But we'll go with this. All right. So as Bill said, I'm with DriveOhio. We've got a few of our interns here today. I'll introduce them in a little bit, and we'll talk about talent. I'm here to talk on behalf of all the talent that we're working with, not just within DriveOhio, but all around.
Thank you.
Down a little. All right.
Get a lot of feedback.
Got it. Super. Okay. Sorry for those online. All right. So we don't get dizzy, I'll switch slides here, and there we go. Let's talk about, as we said, on the ground and in the air, connected, automated, shared, and electric is kind of one of the popular ways to think about this technology space we're working in. So DriveOhio and FlyOhio, I'm going to actually look a little towards the air mobility piece today, because those are some of the most recent student projects we're working on. But I'll talk a little bit about all the different things we have going on. So what you see here is in Central Ohio, just a visual of the 33 Smart Mobility Corridor, one of the big federal funding initiatives that's built really an ecosystem with partners that have now kind of rebranded as the Beta District, a great team of partners that runs through Dublin, Marysville, Union County, that whole area up there. You can see TRC is the anchor up in the northwest corner. A lot of great things happening in those communities, happening with partners from OSU. So students, faculty, staff, all working together on projects along that corridor, both ground and air. So just some examples of projects we may not have mentioned yet. Along that 33 corridor, OSU is the lead performer for this unmanned traffic management research project. So you got certainly plenty of grad students and faculty working to support this. Looking at, as these air mobility platforms are doing more drone deliveries and all sorts of other, medical package deliveries, how do we manage all that traffic in the air? How do we know where these things are at? That's what this project is all about. And it has spawned a whole bunch of demonstrations. This was slightly, probably about 6 to 9 months ago, a demonstration that you can see an OSU Center for Automotive Research vehicle featured there. You had an air mobility platform as well. And more recently, we're still finishing up the video production for it, but we're going to have more information on a more recent demo that was even more complex. Adding sophistication to all these demos to show what's possible for air and ground assets working together. A lot of opportunities for students. So speaking of opportunities, I'm not going to play the video, but the link is included, so you'll be able to go check this out. Some of our rising stars at DriveOhio and FlyOhio have shared their perspective on career opportunities in smart mobility. They did a wonderful job. I'd encourage you to watch this, check it out. We share this with students all around the state. Just in the month of May, we were visiting classrooms with Columbus City Schools to the point where my voice ran out, which was fun. I mean, it's great, right? And we're talking with students of all ages about the opportunities. What are those opportunities? It's all over the map. Research and design, there's certainly a lot of that goes on here at the facility you're visiting today. Building and testing, you get some of that happening here and maybe down the street at the Center for Design and Manufacturing Excellence. And you've got, of course, all the ecosystems up along the 33 corridor for the automotive sector. And coming soon, air mobility, we are talking very aggressively about how to grow that sector here in the state of Ohio to build on our aviation and aerospace legacy. And then operating and maintaining is, there are jobs like vehicle repair. There are jobs like, maintenance and, all sorts of different skill sets from career technical up through PhD and everything in between. And marketing, communications. I mean, don't take this the wrong way. I love engineers, but I've been around some engineers who maybe just can't communicate as well, so I love them all, but that's where we need all sorts of talent. So we tell students of all ages, if you're interested in technology, there's a spot for you. You just got to kind of find your niche, and we'll help you get there. This is the way that we're doing it. We've got a variety of programs, like we said, from pre-K to PhD. We're engaging our youngest learners with hands-on activities to get them excited, thinking about pathways. As they think about their first, second, and third internship, we prepare them through career tech and higher ed programs. And then for incumbent workers, upskilling through great programs like Tech Cred with the state of Ohio. We're supporting all the different areas. I'm just going to quickly highlight a couple of examples of recent projects. This was a capstone project that students from OSU's Center for Aviation Studies did on behalf of the OSU Airport, which is a wonderful asset that was recently reinvested in. And they're looking at these questions of what's next for OSU Airport as it relates to all this advanced air mobility. Well, this team of students, I cannot say enough things about all those names up there. If you are hiring or looking for anyone that's talented in this space, I mean, they knocked it out of the park. Some of these students also, while they were doing this, organized an amazing Ohio Air Mobility Symposium that happened here on campus. The president of the university spoke, the lieutenant governor spoke, national experts came in. It was all organized by students. I'm not exaggerating. It was just amazing. So this team of students went around and interviewed different stakeholders. They put together a report. And this was really just a foundational project that will lead to future capstones, future policy studies. We're hosting some interns this summer that are building on some of this work, and then we're feeding that into future student projects. So this is not, the only school in the state where we're doing this, but I think it's a great example of how we're taking advantage of this whole ecosystem of multidisciplinary students, not just engineering, but policy and everything in between to really think about this in a holistic way. Another one of the programs we're super excited about is the Fly Ohio Vertiport Innovation Challenge. What's a vertiport? Well, where do these things take off and land from? If anybody saw the 60 Minutes piece with Anderson Cooper flying around one of these electric aircraft, that's the type of infrastructure we're talking about. We have challenged higher ed students all around the state to come up with ideas. And last fall, we hosted over 50 students in a hybrid event, some virtual, some in person, with over 30 different stakeholders, employers, partners, panelists, coaches, judges, for a 2-week challenge to come up with ideas for where could you put these vertiports? What might they look like? How would they be used? This is what one of the teams from OSU came up with. It was a network of air mobility hubs for Kroger. And it's not an imaginary topic. Kroger is actually doing drone delivery in Ohio in Centerville right now. So this is a real and growing opportunity for the state. And we are excited to have students involved in this. We're going to be doing this Vertiport Innovation Challenge again in the fall. All around the state, we're going to have different airports presenting problem statements to teams of student consultants. And we encourage these students to put it on your resume, connect with us on and talk to employers. I've had students from these events reaching out to us asking for connections and jobs. This is how it happens. You build these networks like this, and you connect students with the talented with each other, but also with the employers who are looking for that talent. So for any of you in the audience that are employers or looking to get involved in these kind of ecosystems, just reach out to us. We're always looking for problem statements, sponsors for capstone projects, you name it. It's a great way to engage, and it's also very rewarding work. And I'm just going to close with some of our K-12 outreach. Smart Mobility Ambassador program was built by that gentleman right there, Mr. Kenyon Gray, one of our interns who recently graduated and is now working in Columbus at HNTB. We're very proud of him. And this program is all about training high school students to do some of the STEM outreach work with younger peers, which is building on the work we do. It's a force multiplier for our team, but it's also a chance for them to build their leadership skills, learn about career opportunities, connect with potential employers. We're scaling this program up this year. We're excited about it. It started off as a pilot in Central Ohio. We're going to do more here in Central Ohio. We're going to grow statewide. So watch for more updates on our social media. Now, I'll just wrap it up with just a few features of some of our awesome interns who've been with us. Some who've moved on to their next opportunity, which we're very glad for them. Here's Kenya, who started off with us over 3 years ago, and he recently joined HNTB. Jen is an absolute rock star, an OSU graduate, an expert in accessibility through her own lived experience, a founder of Being Able, the consulting firm, winner of multiple prizes and awards, and just an outstanding person. And Malcolm is wrapping up his internship with us this summer, and he's focused on infrastructure, studying mechanical engineering here at OSU. Megan and Hannah with us today, both studying communications and public policy and public relations. So we're glad they're here today. And we've got another team of interns back at the office staying busy right now. So that concludes my remarks. Appreciate your time, and I'll turn it back to Bill. Thank you.
So I think the big takeaway, at least for me, is for if you have kids, grandkids, talk to them about great opportunities there are in this field, all these different fields of engineering and communication and all that kind of thing. It's just very, very exciting. So Jerome Hathaway is going to be our next presenter. Jerome is the Director of Partnerships for Smart Columbus. You've all heard of Smart Columbus, I'm assuming. He is responsible for leading the Acceleration Partner Program. Smart Columbus's employer engagement program focused on helping companies and organizations make meaningful progress toward carbon neutrality and equitable digitalization. Prior to joining Smart Columbus, Jerome was the Chief Strategy Officer for National Center for Urban Solutions, a grassroots organization servicing workforce development, health and wellness, and education sectors. At NCUS, Jerome established partnerships and implemented impact delivery programs with Amazon, the American Diabetes Association, Johnson & Johnson, and Walmart Corporation annually, serving at least 10,000 community members. Additionally, in the community, Jerome has led Ohio's largest African-American attended community event, bringing 20,000 individuals together for a 5K walk and run, bringing awareness to health disparities plaguing Black men and their families. So you've done a lot, right? So anyway, he's going to talk to us about some of the things that are happening.
Thanks a lot, Ben. I should have gave you a maybe a shorter paragraph. A sentence or two, I think would have been fine. Good. All right, great. Hello, everybody. My name is Jerome from Smart Columbus, Director of Partnerships. Here to talk about how bringing people together through community partnerships and how that's really important and how it's truly impacted the work that we've done within the community. I would say that we are very, very proud of the success that we was able to accomplish in the start of 2016. We won the Smartest City Challenge, beating over 72 different cities who all wanted to win that Smart Cities Challenge, and we're glad that we won that. And that was the U.S. Department of Transportation grant and the Paul G. Allen Foundation for $50 million. So our purpose here, we look at ourselves as an agile innovation lab to advance what is next, what is new for technology and community good. And how we do the work that we do through our mission is we want to always have a table for thought leadership, a platform for that, where we convene different partners that kind of talk about what is new and what is actually next. Get an eye for what's around the corner. Also making sure that we have strong partners at the table to assist in that area and delivering high impact projects, high delivery impact projects. Excuse me. So you've already seen that we've expanded our team just recently. We have some new faces there. I'll spare you the guy on the far left. I think you've had enough about him. But we have Andrea. She's our design research lead. We have Chris. We have Jordan Davis. We have Haley. Jordan Davis is our executive director of Smart Columbus, our fearless leader. We have Christy, our director of sustainability, is actually right there in the room today. Wave your hand, Christy. And Red. So I just wanted to show you those faces that you may see now. We've done the first pass of Smart Columbus in the first 4 or 5 years was really focused on the mobility side. We are still continuing the effort in mobility, but we're going to transition with a stronger focus, diving deeper into sustainability and to digitalization. And as always, still keeping that table open for what's new and next for emerging technologies. But just to tell you a little bit about some of the success that we have had in the past, we did the project where we had the connected vehicles. Many of you may have seen the parking meters, the apps were no longer they put a quarter in. Now you can actually go and use your different app device to be able to do that. We're behind the first autonomous shuttle that actually hit public roads nationally. That was a part of our work there. And actually it was cool because during the pandemic, we had to pivot the work behind that, and it became the Linden Leap, and it actually served the community around the American Addition, the neighborhood in Linden, to provide food and as well as diapers to many people. I'm going to go a little bit faster here. So talking about building a community for partners, what's really, really exciting about the work that we've done is the strength of the partnerships. We call this the Columbus Way. That is building a private, public, and nonprofit sectors where they've all come together to advance the work that we have in the community. That's really essential to the work that has to be done because we can't advance without providing that table and that atmosphere that helps us to be able to move these challenges forward and to really impact the work that needs to be done. But just to see what it was like in 1.0 Smart Columbus, we had a mission to, okay, how can we advance mobility? And so not only advance mobility, but advance the nature of our climate from clean energy, from our transportation needs. And so the first thing we needed to do was we had to find partners and empower, number one, power a leader. Then we also encourage them to buy electric, charging infrastructure, smart mobility education, and incentivize the behavior of that. And I'll go over this in a little bit more detail so you can kind of see some of the results of that. But our goals were very clear. We wanted to have 100 companies involved. We wanted to have 50 leaders leading from the top That was extremely important to be able to move the work forward. We wanted to have 100 new workplace charging stations. We can't build a smart mobility without being able to provide infrastructure for charging. And we had to figure out how can we educate people best on adoption. And so many of you may have heard of our successful programs of the ride and drive events. And so sometimes, just getting behind the wheel creates an experience where someone can understand why they should probably consider driving electric. And I would say it's known that once people have that experience, they'll advance at about 500% from just having experience in that community in that area. What we were able to do from the end of the program, when you look at the 4 years of that from the smart mobility side, was we had 71 employers by the end of the program who committed actually to the work. 50 executives actually drove electric vehicles, 42 electrification assessments, 219 electric vehicle charging ports, 61 sites, and 12,000 electric vehicle tests, of 120 ride and drive events and 31 new mobility benefits. So what does Smart Columbus look like now? Well, like I said, we want to continue to advance the work into sustainability and digitalization. As you know, at the top of the year, the city advanced the climate action plan to figure out how we can reach carbon neutrality by year 2050. And so when you're thinking about the sustainability, at the top of many of the corporations' minds currently and why they would get behind this work is the ESG goals. Companies and corporations are interested in federal government and publicly traded companies on what are you doing in terms of sustainability? Are you considering clean energy sources? Are you looking at renewable energy or energy efficiency? And how are you going to make sure that your organization is sustainable for the future? What we also recognize is that what happened with COVID-19, COVID-19 didn't bring us to a new problem. It just kind of exposed us to some bigger ideas of what's already here. Huge digital divide. And so advancing the digitalization is really important to make sure that, hey, we have a better experience for our residents and the people in the community. Does everyone have connectivity opportunity? Do they have devices? Are they able to apply for jobs or get healthcare or the needs that they have from just connected to the internet? And what we realize is that there's a big divide and broadband access. And another term is that you may have heard that's new is called broadband equity. Maybe not new, but broadband equity is a big deal now. So why do companies still want to get involved with this? Well, it's really important. Number one, so we're in a competitive environment. That's one thing. You might have heard of the Great Resignation, right? But people are really, what someone said, it's really the great evaluation. People are really considering, hey, what does my company really care about? Are they looking at how they advance in ESG leadership? Are they considering the environment? Are they considering about how we take care of our climate in general? These are the things that our partners are really considering in terms of why they would get involved behind the work. And so, in accelerating in the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and digital transformation, now in the 2.0 phase, we have 9 goals under 3 pillars. Number one, in transportation, continue the acceleration part in transportation through electrification. Also, collaborate to accelerate regional growth, renewable energy, and close the divide of the digital divide approach is what our partners are really excited and committed to. And so this is what it looks like on the pledge goals. We ask them for an annual commitment of our partners to pledge to these 9 goals that will help us to advance the community and not only advance their organizations, but for the community at large. And so number one, can you increase your fleet, your light duty EV fleets by 50%? Oh, and you're looking at over the next 5 years. So someone's saying, well, do we have enough vehicles right now? We know what's happening with electric vehicles, but we also know that that the more vehicles and opportunities are coming, and we're expanding in this area. And also, are you looking at, okay, are you still providing education? The only way to continue to advance this work is also to make sure that people are more aware of what's happening. So more ride and drives, more education opportunities to be able to spread this, and commuter benefits is an opportunity to obviously reduce our carbon neutrality. And we're also diving deeper into, like I said, to energy in buildings and increasing building efficiency, renewable and using energy. And I did talk about digital devices. It's really important here as I'm getting ready to close out here is, number one, you can't expect our partners to do this work by themselves. They need to make sure they have a trusted advisor to help them and do this work. It's a big ask. It's a big ask, but we want to give them even bigger support. So one thing that we want to do is, one, we want to bring great partners to the table, but also help our partners out, whether it be the vendors. We act as a trusted advisor in that aspect for our partners. We also want to make sure they have all the resources they need, all the tools, all the educational materials that they need. We want to be there to help them. It's really important to them as they're trying to align their companies with these ESG goals and advance the work of their organizations and the communities is celebrating their success. How can we continue to tell that story about the work that's done, not the work that they are actually doing? So, not be more happy about the committed work of our partners. As one person said, it's easy. It's great when you bring people together. It's great when people actually, it's even better when they stay together, but it doesn't get any better until they actually start working together. That's actually the words of Ford, paraphrase version. But we cannot have the success that we have had without the work of partners. And we're very selective. We actually bring partners in that come to the table who really care about the work. We hold them accountable to it. Those 9 goals that I showed you, we provide a matrix. We say, hey, where are you at with these goals? Are you excelling? Are you moving forward? Are you growing throughout the year? But we're also making sure they have everything that they need. But building a community of partnerships to advance change, it's really important that we have partners at the table and we have you as community members the work that's being done. So thank you very much.
Sure. Just a quick observation. Not so long ago, women weren't allowed to join the car designer clubs out of Detroit. And you think about, you look at the audience here today and some of our presenters, and women are really like breaking that mold. They're getting into some really important, interesting jobs in these fields. So keep it going. Another interesting thing, I don't remember if it was Ferrari or not, but it was a high-end custom Italian car maker. They will only let female workers work on the dashboards because they were so attentive to detail. So I thought that was really kind of interesting. Okay, so enough of me. David Cook. David Cook serves as the Senior Associate Director for the Center for Automotive Research right here. He is a member of the senior leadership team at the center and directly supports research programs in electrified and automated vehicle technologies. As a student at Ohio State, David had the opportunity to lead the Buckeye Bullet land speed racing team and set world records in excess of 300 miles an hour with both battery, electric, and hydrogen vehicle cell powered vehicles. David?
Thanks so much. I'll reiterate what others said. It's so great to see everyone in person. A few in-person meetings here, but I haven't had the room this full. So congrats to AAA and the team for getting everybody out here today. Really great to see you. And for our online participants that couldn't make it, we invite you to come visit us in the future. My job today is to transition into the next section of the event and prepare you for some of the lab tours and the lab visits that we're going to see today. As you've heard the theme today, the center is our students. So Giorgio, Dr. Zoni talked about our mission, which is really in 3 pillars: an academic institution, an innovation center, and a place that supports economic development. What I always say is, while we are an academic institution and education is at the forefront, we believe the right way to do that is through hands-on experiential learning. Nothing that you will see today is a made-up homework assignment. These aren't things that the professor said, oh, you need to go in the lab and do this thing. If we're doing work and the things you'll see today, it's because industry asked for it or it's part of a federal project. So all of the training that we do with our students is in the context of real-world problems and industry programs. Thrilled that we're able to be in Central Ohio, where there's such an appetite for advanced mobility. Assets like the Transportation Research Center, to reiterate on that question, do not exist in the country. There's other test tracks, other proving grounds. There aren't places that are open to companies, to students that want to come in and work on those things. So the idea that you can partner with DriveOhio and Fly Ohio and be out doing amazing things with urban air mobility vehicles, drive a few miles out 33 and be at one of the top proving grounds in the country, come here and work in labs. It's really a student experience that you won't get anywhere else in the country or the world for that matter. So We've selected a few of our labs today. Obviously, we have a pretty big group, so we can't get all over the building, but we've selected 4 different experiences for you, so you'll get a taste of some of the things that we do. When I believe we're going to split you into 4 groups to rotate you through, so you can spend a little more time. I think we have about 10 to 15 minutes in each lab, right? So I'll just give you a highlight of some of the labs that you're going to see. Obviously, the experts in that lab will talk to you a lot more. Come with lots of questions. I think we're going to talk for a few minutes, and then they'll be happy to entertain a conversation or any questions that you have. For the online folks, we'll still show you some things. Won't be quite as exciting as seeing the sites in person, but we've got a video of some of those labs, and I'm going to stay on with you and talk to you about some of the things that they're seeing in person. So first up is our driving dynamics lab. This is a driver simulator. So really interesting history in this lab. The principal investigator that leads the lab has a career history in working in high performance vehicles. So he works with Ford Racing and other racing companies at the ultimate edge of performance. So suspension, tire development, race engineering. So any questions you have about the high performance stuff, bring up in that lab. But what the transition and trend is to move more and more work to that simulator. It's very expensive to build vehicle prototypes, very expensive to get track time. And so what we like to do more and more in simulation and with the driver involved is to start to narrow down the options. We're never going to do all the final tuning for race prep and things like that in a simulator, but if we can get from 100 options down to 3 and then really focus the time at the track on narrowing in on those 3 options, then that can be a really good thing. So everything that's come out of that lab, it was really built for performance vehicles and simulation and driver interactions. But in the meantime, as autonomy and these autonomous technologies have gone through the roof, what we found is there's a lot of companies out there that have great software engineers writing all kinds of cool code using machine learning, but don't understand the vehicle that they're working with. So they're sending control signals to move vehicles around, but they don't understand the physics of what they're operating. So we found a really nice merger between the autonomous and connected systems with this really high performance, high fidelity physics models of vehicles. So the students will show you all that they're doing in there. And in fact, things like mapping the tracks that are TRC. So we can go right from a simulation model to a driving model, and then drive the TRC courses in the simulator, and then head out to the test track and do the real thing. So makes a full loop of progression. Next is our battery lab or energy storage labs. Center for Automotive Research in Ohio State is actually a very, very early leader in energy storage systems for mobility applications. This happened because more than 20 years ago, our consortium, so member companies that are very involved in our center, companies like Ford and Chrysler, or whatever they want to be known at any given time, General Motors, Honda, and people in the supply chain, they all come together in this very room twice a year, and we talk about the problems of the industry. And about 20 years ago, they said, we think electrification is coming. We don't know how fast, but we need to be prepared. We're not going to hire tons of engineers and build labs. We want to do this in a shared setting. And so we have the whole auto industry coming to us saying we need to learn more about batteries. We then partnered with the state, got some pretty serious funding, and built some of the first automotive battery labs in the country. And you'll see that has grown to today when you visit. But we spend a lot of time cycling batteries, charging and discharging day and night, 24/7, sometimes for months on end, to understand how they age, how they perform, how you compare different chemistries. We've been very involved in standards and regulations groups that have to help to set the standards on how these things are tested commercially for the industry. So we get a cool visit out to the battery lab there today. There will be a stop. I think they're parked just outside to enjoy some of the spring, summer weather here, the car. So our fastest growing area is in cybersecurity research. So not too long ago, vehicles really weren't connected to the outside world, right? When an OEM sold you a car, that was sort of the last time it would get an update or things would change on the vehicle unless there was a warranty or maybe if you came in for service, but they really could depend on constantly changing the car. Then we had these infotainment systems, right? So you start to have your navigation, radio, and satellite radio, and there started to be some connections to the car. And we started to see some malicious intent, but you really couldn't do a lot. The manufacturer kind of kept a firewall between the systems that were, these infotainment systems and the rest of the car. Now the world has changed. The cars have become a lot more like cell phones. Manufacturers know when they ship the car out the door, it's probably a few months until it gets into consumer hands. And, oh, we can get that last update or make that software change. And what it means is all the systems of the car, even into the powertrain and controls and safety systems, are now connected to the outside world. That adds threat vectors. And so we spend a lot of time looking at what those possible threat vectors are. One thing we were able to do very recently, partnering with the state, is to create a rolling platform for cybersecurity. So you're going to see a highly automated vehicle. that has every possible electronic option on it. And we're not really studying automation or some of the other technologies there. We're looking at what are the new threats that are out there because these vehicles are connected to the outside world. And then the last area you're going to go to is our motorsports building, bit of the pride and joy of this center. So alongside the industry work and the graduate education that we talked about and happens a lot in this building, in our back building, as we call it, the motorsports building, these are competition projects that the students in. They're by and large set up as student clubs, predominantly undergraduate, and we about 300 students a year get involved in these, but competition teams to apply their classroom learning, build really cool vehicles and go out all over the world and compete. And so you'll see a variety of projects. This is competition season, so we've got a few out. I think our eco car team is actually on the way back from Yuma, Arizona. The Baja car, I believe, is back. You'll see a selection of cars. Everybody has been out. I think New York. I had a group headed to California, a group in Detroit this week. Yuma Proving Ground. So they're all over the world with these competition vehicles, and I'll let them talk to you a little bit more about that. This is actually how I got my start here at the Center for Automotive Research, as I said in my intro, working on the Buckeye Bullet, which you'll see the world's fastest electric vehicle, but totally shaped my career here. So I came in thinking I might finish in engineering. Maybe I'd switch to another discipline. I for sure wasn't headed to graduate school, but when you start to get really hands-on with the projects, you see the outcomes of real engineering. I actually became a career researcher. Was not in my plan at all, but stayed on for a graduate degree in the research team here, and now really enjoy my work working as a research administrator here within the sector. So again, thank you all for visiting today. I think are we taking a couple questions? Is that good time for that now? Okay, we're out of time. We'll move on to the tour. Perfect. Yeah, so a couple questions popped up online, which I can address in our online session then. And then make sure you ask your hosts to tour around all the questions that you have. So, all right.
Okay, so I'm just going to take a couple minutes to introduce some of the people the leads for the sessions that you're going to attend. Do we have photos for each of these? Okay, thanks. All right, so we have Jeff Christos. Jeff is part-time research scientist at the Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering Department at Ohio State. He leads the Drive Dynamics Lab at the Center for Automotive Research. Dr. Christos is also the advisor to the Formula Buckeye Student Motorsports team outside of Ohio State. Prashant Ramesh is a senior engineer at the Center for Automotive Research, where he manages the battery testing facilities at the center, supporting research and industry projects focusing on storage. Atar Hanif is a senior research associate engineer at the Center for Automotive Research here. His research is focused primarily on powertrain control, power electronics, converters, and control and electric drive systems. Max Wright is the university student. Project shop supervisor while working toward his major in aviation transportation. Previously, he was the Ohio State Formula SAE president and driver. In 2016, Max designed and constructed a driving simulator in partnership with Ford, D-Box, and CarSim. And lastly, we have Darren Orr. Darren serves as the facility manager and laboratory supervisor for the Center for Automotive Research. He works closely with CAR's leadership team and research staff to manage effective use of administrative and experimental spaces, equipment, and instrumentation. He also has many years of experience supporting the College of Engineering Student Projects program. So you're going to meet these guys.